Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Absolutely huge day here at USC. It's Friday, and you know what that means? It's the Conquest Call-In Show, where every week my editor Matt and I are here to take your guys' phone call. We aren't the last, but we were the first to give you guys a total caller-driven show where the USC Trojans come and sound off about this team they love. This week, you have USC entering the Big Ten as officially today. Actually, the day, I know we've had a lot of lead up. We've been talking about it for a long time. But today, officially, USC is now in the Big Ten. Today, also, the kickoff of the fall camp at USC. 2 days ago, we had a media event for a local media to come and get a lot of interviews with the players and the coaches. Just a great event, you guys. I mean, I can't imagine a better setting for us all to sit down and just get to know the new player, or not the new players, get to know some of the transfers that came in, as long as some of the veteran guys, and talk to the new defensive coaching staff on a one-to-one or maybe small group setting. It was really wonderful to do. Matt, how you doing on Friday? Oh, you're muted.
A lot's going on, and the season is here. Basically, the off season's done. Not that we won't talk about recruiting at some point in this show, and we remind you that if you want 2 hours, you know what to do. I think, and then if you want 3 hours, you know what to do as well. So I imagine we'll talk about recruiting over the course of the show. But really, football and the football season are here in earnest. Like, now we get to follow the developments at camp. I know you're going to be on site for some of them, and obviously you were at the USC Media Day. So it's just nice to get into the rhythm again of covering a team, following the stories. It's a lot less conjecture and pure speculation. We now get into, okay, we can observe these things from camp. We can see how the team's progressing. We can see what the coaches are saying. And then is it all going to add up against LSU and then beyond? So like the season, I mean, the LSU game's still 4 weeks away, but in essence, the season's here. And as you wrote at Trojans Wire earlier this week, the longest off season in USC football history is over, blessedly. Like, now we get to turn the page, and hopefully this team can really move the ball forward, literally and figuratively, at USC.
Well, I dropped the ball. I did not get a tweet out about the show. But I see all of our regulars are here. I do notice all the names. Thank you all for being here on time. Thank you again for joining us on a Friday. You guys know the drill. Number 888-997-4539, 888-99 Riley. Give us a call. Let's talk some USC football. Well, Matt, I mean, I guess until we get our first phone call, we can just talk about today. Today was the day I got to see in person a lot of newcomers, the freshmen. You know, guys like Caden Treater, we've had on the show. We've talked to in front of the show, and he's big. I'll just tell you guys, he's as big as we thought. He said he was going to be, 6'7", 6'6", just a really big lineman. Just almost looks like right now he's ready to play. You know, he's a plug-in guy as a freshman. It's tough. It's a tough thing to ask to have a freshman come in, but I know he'll be adding depth, and I'm sure during the season at some point he's going to be competing for our position. The other guy who's not a freshman, but Anthony Lucas, just seems like he looks bigger every time I see him. He just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Carlin Jones, a guy, just a very large individual. He also looks the part. You know, he looks like he's ready to play. They can start him as a true freshman. He has the size. Does he have the strength? That's your big question. I'm guessing yes. So he looks like it's just absolute mauler. So, positions of need were on both sides of the line for depth. And I'm beginning to see possibly why this coaching staff wasn't as concerned or drastic to fill in spots, knowing that they had these guys coming in. I know they're young. I get it. I understand, guys. I'm not saying I'm trying to put too much pressure on a freshman, but it does look like this is a pretty big team across the board. We all know about the gains everyone made, We don't have to go back into that. We talked about last week, but my God, Adam, I didn't even get done with the opening. You've already made the second hour brought to you by Adam Lamparello, folks. I mean, I have to have that. Kevin, if you're out there, my brother, Kevin, we need to get that. We need to get that graphic because we've been talking for 2 weeks now. Thank you, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Dan calling from LA.
Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Just quick question. And I'm still, hearing about how, USC and the Big Ten is going to be really tough for USC, the ground and pound game and all this. My question is because, I truly believe, and you guys should too, Deion Lynn, Eric Henderson, these guys are pros. They're not going to let these teams run all over USC. Even on a bad game, they're going to get 3 and outs. These guys know what they're doing. Like, I don't know how people are just missing that, but they know exactly what's going to happen. They know how to stop these guys. But my thing is, so everyone's complaining about, everyone's talking about how USC going to handle the run. These teams run the ball a lot. So if USC is going down, because I don't believe none of these defenses can handle Lincoln Riley's offense. Maybe Penn State, maybe Wisconsin, because Luke Fickell comes from a defensive background in Michigan, because they play defense. But these other teams, if USC is putting up points, say it's 21 nothing in the first quarter, are those teams that are they still going to be running the ball? Even for example, Penn State, you go up 21 nothing on Penn State, are they running the ball? They're going to keep running the ball, or are they going to start passing? And that's where I think USC is going to be able to take control, because their quarterbacks in the Big Ten are very bad, and average at best. But I don't know. I don't understand the logic of people not realizing if USC is scoring a lot and their defense is up to par, these teams are going to be able to just run the ball all day. They're going to have to start throwing the ball. What are you guys' opinion on that?
I liked especially when you said Penn State. I thought you were going to talk about that Penn State Rose Bowl where USC just jumped all over them in that 2008 Rose Bowl, and it's kind of hard to play catch up. Now, I'm not saying we have the 2008 defense. That helps you to get out to those big leads, is to have that kind of a defense, right? With Cushing, Maualuga, Matthews, Mayava, just go down the list of just the linebackers alone. I think that you need to remember a couple things. I'm with you. I am hyped up. I know this is going to be a very solid USC team. But remember, the USC is playing. You talked about Penn State. How are we going to jump out? Penn State was one of the better teams. If I'm right, Matt, one of the best teams against the run in the country last year. So, Penn State is going to have a solid defense as well. I like the fact, and I think you've touched on it. I'm so tired of saying this over and over again. People for years used to say, man, if Lincoln Riley could just get a decent defense. He has a decent defense, everyone's just missing the fact that USC's offense is going to be this or that because Caleb's not here anymore. Yes, I even think Miller is going to tell you that, Caleb is just a supernatural guy. But Miller's a great quarterback in his own right. And we saw what he could do in the Holiday Bowl. We know that he can operate in this defense. We're really seeing that this the offensive line did a great job at Holiday Bowl. And if they take that next step, they keep that progression, these young guys filling in and playing as a unit, there's no reason why the offense should take a huge step back in 2024. And so therefore, we know that we're going to have, at the very least, a very good defense, and we're going to have a Lincoln Riley offense. So I'm not overly concerned, but I would caution you about downplaying the competition we're going to have in the Big Ten. Matt, your thoughts?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here with saying, well, if we go up 21-0 over Penn State, it's kind of like saying, well, if I find $10 million in unmarked bills right outside my house, let's rein that back in. And now I will say that if USC can get early game leads, it is going to put these Big Ten offenses in a box. So just laying that out, I think that much is true. But USC's offense has to prove that it can be, on par with what we've seen the last few years. And that's why, I'm beginning to really dig into the season, really focus on 2024 USC. And I wrote yesterday at Trojans Wire, obviously the defense has been so awful the past 2 seasons, and it's very natural and reasonable to think you know what? The defense is the key to this season. And like, you're not, I mean, that's a reasonable thing to say, but really, it's the offensive line. The offensive line is going to be the telltale unit for this team, because if the offensive line functions well, then it's very likely that Miller Moss is going to function well. It's likely that the receivers are going to do well, the running backs are going to do well, and the offense is going to do well. And if the offense does do well, if this looks like a Lincoln Riley offense as we've come to know it, as we've come to expect, this season should go really well. But can the offensive line make it all happen? And if the offensive line does make it happen, well, then I think we're in for a good year. But we need to see it, and we need to see it on the field. And so I just don't want us to get into a mindset of expecting to get the jump on opponents. That's why the LSU game to me is the most important game of the season. Obviously, you have Notre Dame on the schedule. Obviously, you have UCLA on the schedule. Obviously, that Penn State game on October 12th is huge as well. And Michigan in the Big House. But LSU is going to set the whole tone, and LSU is going to determine if the playoff path is going to be easy or hard. The LSU game is going to determine if the percentage chances are really good or remote after week one. And this is what you play for as at a big time college football program. You want that week one test right out of the gate. You want to see what you're made of, test yourself against the best. And really, like, I have my thoughts about what's going to happen this year at USC, but the LSU game is going to reveal so much. And I don't want to assume that USC is going to have a certain type of team before looking at that LSU game.
Well, and really quickly also, you said the week one test, and the week one test will be that kind of like, I don't know, diagnostic. We kind of take a look at where are we, what progress we made. But this is a young team. This is a new defensive scheme. This team is going. This is a brand new quarterback. This team's to get better every game, Matt. So it will. So a lot like we saw in the 2016 team, where it was just kind of a slow start, maybe the wrong quarterback. A lot goes into what happened there. Playing Alabama right out of the gate really kind of knocked the wind out of a lot of the team, but that team did get better every game. And that's happened a lot with USC teams over the years. Even going back to Pete Carroll teams, it just seemed like they got better every single game. This season kind of shapes up. So I agree. It's kind of unfortunate they're starting out with two of probably their most tough, or if not two of the three toughest games they're going to have all season, the first three games of the season. Because I know Miller for sure. I know Miller is going to get better every single time, every snap, but definitely every game from game to game. It's going to see how quickly some of these younger, like Alani Noah got some starts last year, right? But how is he going to play? Mason Murphy and Alani on that side kind of getting to know each other and passing off blocks and stuff. Are they going to be able to gel? The new defense, a lot of studs on the defense, new scheme, but when the bullets are flying, are they gonna be kind of, was that is it obnoxious communication? Are they gonna be able to have that on the field communication to work as a unit? Yes, they will, but it takes no one wants to hear this. Fans never want to hear this, but they're not going to walk out and just be nailing. Now, the good thing is that LSU, they have a new defensive coordinator. They're going to have some moving pieces together, but they don't have a lot. It's the same guys though, Matt. It's the same guys, but it's going to be a different scheme. So, I mean, they're going to have some growing pains as well. Obviously, at Michigan, they have a whole brand new coaching staff, so there's going to be a lot going on there. Although they say that, moving from Minter, there's not going to be much of a difference, but it's I don't know. I think that there's going to, obviously, there'll be growing pains there. But this team, to keep in mind, is going to get better every single game. I don't know what you think, Dan.
No, I agree. I didn't mean to say Penn State, but I was just saying in general that on the Big Ten schedule, not including LSU and Notre Dame, but on the Big Ten schedule, because I'm all in. I just think Penn State right now, until the games are played, Penn State and Michigan and maybe Wisconsin are probably the only defenses that could probably, as of right now, is what we've seen that can, do something with the USC. All the other guys, like on the schedule, my thing was like, they're talking about how they love to run the ball. if USC plays Nebraska, I can see them going up 20-0 at the first quarter or something, or by the second quarter on Nebraska. Nebraska can't run the ball after that. So my whole thing was like, if everything shapes up how we think it is, how I think it is, I think they're going to be hot to start the season because they've been hearing all this negativity all year. If they're going up 20-something by halftime, it's 20-2 or 20-3 or 20. I mean, if they're just having big leads on these Big Ten teams, in my opinion, I don't think they'll be able to just continue to just run the ball all day. They're going to have to eventually use their quarterback and throw the ball. And that's what I just think that's why I say USC is going 11-1.
with the players on this team, obviously with Lincoln Riley calling your plays, you're always going to have the potential to score fast regardless of the competition. I do believe that. They're good. They're going to put up points. The defense, we talked about this a little bit. I know I talked to Lynn, Nua, about the fact, about Lynn's system and wanting to and how they want to take over. They want to dictate the game. They want to attack the defense, not sit back and allow the offense, attack the offense and kind of impose their will as a defense. The same thing, like you're saying, can be done with Lincoln Riley on the offense. I mean, that offense. Look at Matt. I can't wait for Matt's remark. I'm just telling you, I really am bullish on our receivers, our running backs, our quarterback, all solid. What's it come down to? And it seems like this is always the situation at USC. It's to come down to the line play. And if they have solid line play, if they have like just solid, not great, solid line play, Miller's to get the ball out quick. That's the biggest part of his game. He's going to read that defense. He's going to get the ball out fast. But can they give him that time to throw the ball? And that's your kicker. If that's the case, we know the offense is going to roll. These now second-year wide receivers, you guys are just something absolutely special. So don't worry about scoring. Worry about giving Miller enough time. All right, Dan. Well, listen, thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate your call. I think you're right. I think that hopefully the offense is going to push, get the other teams, like you're saying, out of what they want to do. And if you do that, or if you make them take the run game, make them throw the ball, make them one-dimensional, that takes a lot off of your defense as well. So great point. It was the opposite, by the way. It was the opposite last year. The defense was putting so much pressure on Caleb and the offense, it almost seems like they're taking our offense out of this game. So that's a pretty good point you're bringing up. But thank you so much for calling in, Dan. Appreciate you every week.
Cool. Thanks. Fight on.
Fight on, Dan. Sorry, Matt. I'm trying to do like 8 things at once. I still haven't got that tweet out yet. I'm trying to do that as we're starting the show up. It's been a bit of a busy day. I'll let you grab this next call while I get that tweet out.
Yes.
Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Kyle from Utah.
Hi, Kyle. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Friday evening. Can't get much better than that. Waiting for the weekend,
I agree.
Hopefully in a month it will be even better.
Agreed. What's on your mind?
But, the one thing that I just wanted to point out is I watched some of the Trojan media this week and some interviews with, you may have seen it with Adam Brenneman, both you and Matt.
Yeah, I have.
One thing I really liked that the coach. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I have seen them. I've seen them, but I haven't been able to watch them yet. There's been so much going on with the local media and so many interviews like that. I haven't really got time between, my stuff to watch it. But I'm definitely. I think. By the way, everyone who hasn't watched that series he has with Riley, with Branch, with a bunch of the guys. You guys got to go check that out because with Danton Lynn and now with Coach Henney. Yeah, it's a really, really good series he has going. So I'm glad you brought that to our attention.
Yeah, it's really good. I got a chance to watch some of them. I didn't see everything, but the one thing I really enjoyed about the coaches, and I saw it during this week during the quick short interviews they had with everybody, was the preaching of fundamentals. I think the last couple, well, not even the last couple of seasons, the last several seasons, to be honest, it seemed like that the coaches got away from the fundamentals and were more concerned about the flash and the flair instead of just the grind out work that Coach Henny is bringing back, the dog work. And I really love how he talked about to Adam in that, and then during the week as well,
is that it's just not the fundamentals of the physical where the guys are now bigger and just like bigger's great, but if you don't do anything with it, what good is it anyway? But the fundamentals with getting bigger, but the fundamentals of the mental as well, because as we all know, I think football is more 80% mental and 20% physical. Physical's easy. It's the mental that really is the driving force of making the physical that much more potent. And so I just wanted to bring that up, that I really noticed that that's what they were preaching to these young men, and they're grasping onto that, and they're just eating it up. And I think our team's going to be phenomenal this year on other podcasts like that. I honestly believe that this team has the potential to go 12-0, not because just the skill set, but that's the mindset of the coaches of not necessarily going 12-0, but that's their skill level. That there are top 10 defensive coaching staff, there are top 10 offensive coaching staff, and you, Tim, have mentioned that several times, that Riley has never gotten worse than the top 10. His worst was top 8 or something like that instead. So with just simply on the coaching staff this alone, I think the potential is 12-0. Will they get there? I don't know. Nobody's going to know that until they get onto the gridiron and really hash it out with the other teams. But I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on some of these things that they've said during these media days. Your Tim and Max.
Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah. The main thing is that, hearing Lincoln Riley say he thinks that the defense has carried things forward from the spring, that the grasping of concepts, that the learning process seems to be going along relatively smoothly, that guys don't seem to be behind, or they don't seem to be profoundly struggling, to learn and understand what's going on. So I find that to be really encouraging. Another big point, saw a story about how Bear Alexander does not want to leave Coach Henney's office. Woof, woof. Like Bear Alexander is all in with Coach Henney. He trusts Coach Henney that this is his meal ticket. This is his path to the big time. He wants to be the best, wants to learn, just soak up everything that Coach Henney is saying to him. So that is great to hear. And just hopefully that permeates, right? Hopefully that's infectious. Hopefully that spreads throughout the defensive line room. Just guys, it's not just actually soaking up the knowledge, though, of course, that's foundational and necessary, but it's the want, it's the desire to soak up the knowledge, right? It's going to be easier for you to actually gain knowledge, become a wiser player with a better football IQ if there is the desire to want to learn in the first place. And, I'm not trying to revisit the past so much as draw the contrast, right? That guys under Alex Grinch were confused. They were standing straight up at the snap. They didn't know where to be, what to do. And so if we have a bunch of guys this year who just have an intuitive, instinctive, natural, fluid understanding of how to play their position, and then you marry that with, and this was the important point that the caller, raised early on. It's not just being big, and we're seeing these guys are bigger. We're seeing the photos tweeted out, and that matters to a point, but it doesn't matter all that much if the increased size, physicality, bulk, strength, power is not married to the higher football IQ. And what coaches have said these first few days really does point to USC defensive football players having a higher football IQ, that they're learning, they're absorbing. There's a hunger to learn, a hunger to grow in understanding. Man, that is what you want to be hearing right now. Now, it doesn't guarantee anything for LSU, but it certainly is the right thing that you want to be hearing at this point of preseason camp.
Yeah, and I like your comment about fundamentals. I do think bringing in a Matt Entz. These guys are just, they're coaches that have really are almost you go for a job interview and you want to be careful that you don't show you're too qualified for a position. It's like you brought in these guys, head coaches, just listen to all of them talk. You could tell that they've been coordinators, that they've been head coaches, and that level of getting to that level of expertise, you don't just get there, right? Unless you're born on third base, but that's a whole nother story. But these guys, they are preaching the fundamentals. These guys they're all about development. And Coach Riley had that theme. There's a lot of themes. There's versatility, but the other one was development. We heard a lot about. And if you want a lot of development, if you want to sell development to the prospect to prospects coming in from high school, or if you want to try to sell it to the transfers through a transfer portal about development, you got to have good developers out. You have to have good teachers. And I do think that Matt Entz is going to bring that piece to that. I just do. I just got this feeling of it. We have some great athletes as linebackers. I really do think that Lynn's system, along with Matt Entz tutelage and coaching, and then bringing in Mascarenas Arnold, who's a great. He was all Pac-12. Had like 100 tackles last year. Mason Cobb, when he came into the program, had like 96 tackles at Oklahoma State. And he came in and was doing the Mike linebacker position. They're just kind of talking. Maybe they're asking him to do just way too much. What they're doing now is they're going to have Issa Mascarenas Arnold become the Mike linebacker, take a little bit off of Cobb's plate, allow him to play downhill, which he's getting that backfield, which we saw him do a number of times last year to save games even. So I think that the fundamentals are being taught. I'm really excited. The receivers, I saw Mike Williams out there at practice with them. Matt's talked about it all the time as far as the secondary and hitting and tackling. We got Mays, coming in as a grad assistant. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on when it comes to fundamentals, and I do think Lynn's coming in with the system, with a mindset, and these guys are talking, and they're actually walking the walk. So it's going again. We don't know. Let's not go overhype again. That's been a theme on our show. They've had themes in the program. We've had one theme. We really got to see it. And I'm very confident. I'm very excited. I'm very bullish. I've said over and over, this is a long off season. I want the Trojans to redeem themselves. I think they're going to do that in Las Vegas. But we just got to see it, Kyle.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with nothing's guaranteed, and it's going to be a fight all season long. And I think the one thing that really brought to my mind or memory was, and everybody knows Michael Jordan, and everybody talks about Michael Jordan and all his accomplishments, but the one thing he talks about when he did so great, or why he was so great, wasn't because of his accomplishments, but because of his fundamentals. He was taught as a youth and growing up, and then applying those as the foundational work and then building on top of that. So I think you both hit that pretty well on the head, is that's where they're building from. And it's nice to see that structure. It just seemed like there's no real structure as in the past few seasons. And it's finally good to see that. And I think that's instilling confidence in these young men, which all the coaches are saying they're seeing a confidence in these young men with all that. And so it's instilling this confidence. They know that they're not pushovers and everything else. And so it's good to have that, and it instills confidence in us as fans as well. Like, I think this team's going to be a lot better than most people are giving them credit for it. And if they're going to lose, they're going to go down swinging. They're going to make sure the other team feels it too. So they're going to have to earn their credence on that gridiron to say, yeah, we won, but look what they did to us when we won, referring to the Trojans. So I think there's going to be a great year for both fans and alumni or anybody else this year for USC. It's just going to be a phenomenal year.
Yeah, I'm absolutely 100% with you, Kyle. Great thoughts. Usually the great ones are the one, like you said, like Jordan, like Kobe. They're the ones that not only they have this God-given talent, but like you said, it's the attention to detail. It's working on the fundamentals of their game, and then to rely on and then they just let their ability take a different level. And I can see that. I can see like Matt was saying about Bear Alexander, a very gifted young man, but he wants to get better. He wants to take his game to the next level. He wants to go to the NFL, and he's just constantly being, picking Henny's mind. Can't get out of his office. These are the things, like you said, Michael Jordan shooting free throws after practice. These are the things that we want to hear about, and it sounds like it's happening. And that's how good becomes great. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate you calling. I hope to hear from you next week. Right on, man.
Thank you. Absolutely. Right on.
Let's catch up on the super chats, Matt. I'm still trying to. I feel bad. Sorry, Kyle. My head wasn't totally there. I'm trying to do 8 things. Oh, here we go. I'm trying to do 8 things at once. I almost have the tweet out, hopefully, so we can get some more people in. But I want to hit these super chats really quick. Speaking of which, we have Adam on the line. But Adam, just want to say again, thank you for sponsoring the Adam Lamparello Hour for the second hour of our show on a Friday night. Really appreciate it. Graphics are coming. Again, I'm not saying it to bring $100 every time. I think I might call the Adam Lamparello second hour. I think you've already paid for it. I think we'll just make it the second hour anyway. We'll grandfather it in. Thank you so much to Gary from Dana Point. Thank you, Gary. I'm still waiting for your call, Gary. But thank you for the $10 super chat. Mr. Banuelos, Roy Banuelos. So I tried to take a picture of Micah, and he was very shy. I just couldn't get a picture, but I'm going to get that picture. I am to get that picture. He was tired after practice, so maybe that might have been part of it. Thank you, sir, for the $10 super chat. It does begin. It's been so long, you guys. If you're a Trojan having to live through this offseason, imagine how the players feel. There's going to be some popping going on the field in Las Vegas. Believe me, these guys have a lot to show everybody. I think they're ready to do that. And then Slap Happy, thank you so much for being here at the $5 super chat. Really kind of you to be here, as well as give us a donation. It's been a while since you called in, Slap. Let's see if we hear you tonight. All right? Because, again, thanks to Adam, we have a second hour for sure. Adam, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, great. Thanks for taking my call, guys. Great to talk to you. I just had a quick question. So I'm thinking about, how do we beat LSU? Now, we know LSU has a good quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier. They have really good skill players. So do we stack the box, take away the run, and rely on the secondary to play man or cover 3? Or do we, rush 3 and drop 8? My view is we've got to take away their run game, and we have to put pressure on the quarterback. But I guess my question is, what's the prescription to beat LSU on defense? Now, on offense, I think we can exploit their secondary, but it doesn't matter if we score 30 points if they score 35, or if we score 40 and they score 45. So what do you think is the best practical way to defeat LSU and kind of mitigate the damage that their offense is going to cause?
Well, so last year, correct me, both you guys, if I'm wrong, but their leading ground gainer was the Heisman Trophy quarterback. Is that correct? Didn't Jaden Daniels have lead the team in rushing? Yes. And I believe when we had I forgot his name from LSU. He basically said that that he didn't really shine about their running back room. I could be wrong. I could be downplaying it. But they do have those 2 tackles. We know they're going to be really, really insane. Malik Neighbors is no longer there. So I'm not downplaying what USC is going up against. I'm really not. But this is not the 2019 LSU team. This is not the 2020, even the 2023 LSU team with a Heisman Trophy almost called running back quarterback who can hurt you with his leg, and Jaden Daniels, as we know as Trojan fans, could also hurt you with his legs. Nussmeier's not that kind of he doesn't have that, but a lot of people are high on Nussmeier, saying that he's ready to take that step. Thank you, Matthew. It was Matt Moscona. That's right. Sorry about that. Yeah, came in. You guys, if you haven't seen that, it was on one of our Monday shows. If you're thinking about the LSU game, go back there and take a look at that. He did a great job breaking down the game for us, and I'm really embarrassed I forgot his name. I'm gonna say it again. I'm down with what Danton Lynn's gonna do, because I know he knows who we have for our personnel. He's gonna tailor the defense to that. Here's what's great. He has all off season to prepare for this game. I think he knows what they're probably gonna throw at him. but they have a new offense. They have a new offensive coordinator. They lost what's his name to they lost offensive coordinator to Notre Dame. So I mean, I guess in a way you don't know what's coming at you, but what we do know is that the offense we saw last year and the offense we saw in 2019 is there. Now, what has it been replaced with, right? I honestly don't know enough. Matt, do you have a little more information? I mean, Matt Moscona did break it down for us, but I know they lost they're like us. They lost a hell of a lot, right? But at a school like LSU, that they recruit down there. Louisiana is one of the most amazing places especially for skill athletes there is anywhere. So I'm sure that they're going to have some playmakers, but I wish I had a better answer for you, Adam, but I really don't know. I know that everyone's assuming they're going to try to run the ball and run the ball at us. I think that's just because the narrative is our defensive line can't hold up and whatever the narrative is on that. And the fact that they have those big tackles. So that's what SC's got to show they can stop that. But, other than that, Matt, do you have any thoughts on how they're going to stop the LSU offense?
Well, Adam, first off, thanks for being our NIL director here at the Conquest Call-In Show. We really appreciate your lavish generosity. You're doing a much better job than Jen Cohen, that's for damn sure. But
I'm not going that far.
Let's dig into the LSU conversation. There are a lot of things that I've been thinking about recently that I'm gonna write about them over the weekend at Trojans Wire. And obviously, there's 4 weeks until the game, so there's going to be a lot of different pieces from a lot of different angles. But I think the big thing I want to stress, and I'll talk about, Adam, the specific matchup between USC's defense and LSU's offense in a bit. But for everyone watching here at the Voice of College Football, for all of our Trojan fans and for non-Trojan fans as well, looking in from the outside, I think the big thing to try and begin to grasp, or at least understand about this LSU game, the fact that it's week 1. Last year, and I know Gary from Dana Point has been making this point, and that's why we love Gary. Gary's been saying, he thinks it's good that USC gets a huge test right off the bat, because playing cupcakes early last season lulled the team into a false sense of confidence, a false sense of superiority. And then when the meat grinder began in the middle of the season, Notre Dame, Utah, Oregon, Washington, team was just not ready. There was a sense of, we're good, and they really weren't. But this year, because you have ultimate challenges right off the bat, team's going to have to be good at the start. But we all know in week 1 in college football with no preseason, crazy stuff happens. And the concern is, this defense, I do agree with Tim that you're going to see improvement steadily, consistently throughout the season. But what if game 1's the clunker, right? We might be really mad. We might be really disappointed if that happens. But we've seen college football teams so many times. They play the bad week 1 game, and then they play great. That takes one game with a lot of mistakes to figure out what everyone's doing. It all snaps into place in week 3, week 4. Think of the 2016 USC team, right? The team that just got dismembered by Alabama, but then that was the game that helped the staff and Clay Helton realize, Sam Darnold's actually the guy, not Max Brown. And then you saw the 2016 Trojans take off in late September, and they were awesome throughout October and November. Maybe that's going to be the trajectory for this team. But the point I'm making is we should expect a lot of flaws. We should expect a lot of mistakes. We're not going to see a polished product. The polished products should be there by October 12 against Penn State. That's the game I'm circling where, okay, if you've had some rough edges by October 12 against Penn State, you need to have everything in order. Everyone needs to know what they're doing. They all need to have their SHIT together. But in week one, it's probably going to be messy, and USC is probably going to need LSU to make mistakes. And fortunately, Brian Kelly LSU teams, the past 2 seasons against Florida State, they have made mistakes, lots of them, in a week 1 game. So I want everyone just to realize that we all have a certain expectations for this team. We all have a blueprint of what a good USC team is going to look like this year. We might not see that come to full fruition in week 1. And I would just say it might not look very polished. It might not look very elegant. Just get a win. It could be the ugliest win in the world, but if USC can just post the result in week 1, then we can move forward. Then we can all learn a bunch of lessons. Then we can all figure out our roles better, for all these players and for how the coaches can bring them along. But don't expect a masterpiece in week 1, win or lose. It's all about just survival. That's the point of emphasis. Now, to answer your question very quickly, I would say, precisely because it's a week 1 game, Adam, you don't want to make the big mistakes right off the bat. You don't want to give up that 80-yard splash play. You don't want to just overrun a gap or get caught off balance. So I would say play center field. Make sure you have someone really deep in the first quarter. Try and just get through the first quarter and force Nussmeier and that LSU offense to throw a lot of short passes. If LSU is able to go 13 yards or 13 plays, 80 yards in 7 minutes, we all hope that doesn't happen. But I mean, you make them go 13 plays if they're going to score 7 points at the start of the game. I think you need to force LSU to be patient, just as you'd force any college football offense to be patient in a week 1 game when everyone on both teams, doesn't have rhythm, doesn't have established continuity. You're going to try to avoid giving up the big home run in the first quarter, first 20 minutes. And then as the game goes along, after just trying to rely on your base front 4 to get pressure, then maybe you mix in a corner blitz, the kind of thing that Pete Carroll was so good at doing, early in the third quarter of a close game. He'd find that corner blitz. He'd do his halftime film study. So that, to me, is the basic approach for the USC defense. You try and be a little vanilla, and you play it safe first quarter. See if your base guys can get a push up front. Just see what you have. And then as the game goes along, then you try to be more creative. Then you try to send some people. Then you try to mix things up to confuse Nussmeier. I think that's the way to play it.
If you want to talk about a litmus test, if USC is able to get pressure with 4 against those tackles, holy crap. There you go. Oh, holy crap. And listen, Jamil Muhammad is going to be that kind of that big veteran guy. Braylon Shelby, you don't want to be sleeping on him whatsoever. And then the young guys coming. I mean, that's a tall ask, Matt, to ask those guys to get pressure with 4. But if they're able to get pressure with those 4 against those tackles, then holy shit, look out, because then I think people need to start upgrading their expectations. So I'm with you. Let's watch first quarter, Matt, and see. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe come after him. Maybe you want to rattle him early. Maybe you want. It's not. It's a neutral game. It's technically on the road for them too. And Allegiant Stadium, you guys, is not a big stadium, and it's it's enclosed, and it gets loud. And if the Trojan fans bring it, LSU's gonna be loud. If we can get out to a quick lead, shut them up, and get on it, and then bring that pressure. Well, I don't know. That's there's 2 ways to go with that thing, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. Absolutely.
You guys make great points, and I'll just briefly say, I think to win that game, number 1, Riley has to control time of possession. We have to win that battle. Number 2, when the defense is in the red zone, they've got to give up field goals and not touchdowns. And number 3, they've got to control their emotions and stay disciplined when the momentum shifts to LSU. And I think if we do that, we can be competitive and possibly even pull the upset. So thanks for taking my call, guys. Great show as always. And, have a great evening.
Well, thank you, Adam, again. And thank you for sponsoring the Adam Lamparello hour number 2 here at the Voice of College Football USC. I appreciate hearing from you every week, and I appreciate the continued support by everybody, but you in a very special way. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, fight on, Adam. Yeah, we have a couple more.
Take care. Fight on.
Fight on. Mike Williams, Mark Williams. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Was there another one as well? I thought, Matt. I mean, this is where we get into trouble.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let's go back. I don't want to.
Jeff sent 10. Jeff Rodriguez sent 10. He said he was broke, but
Yes.
not broke enough to send $10. So Jeff, you are the man as always.
Yeah, of all people, Jeff is since day one has been a huge supporter. So listen, give what you guys don't give. You don't got it. We appreciate it. I just appreciate you guys being here. This is just a wonderful time. I'm not lying when I say Friday. This is this show's the only one give. I was so tired for the last couple of days. Just a lot. I've been doing a lot of talking the last couple of days, and this show though is definitely the one that gets me excited because we get to hear from you guys, and especially this one as well. I know this phone number as well. Will, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing great. So how are you? So obviously the defense has gotten a lot better, as you guys have been saying. How are you feeling about the DBs in particular? Because obviously I actually don't know any of the LSU guys off the top of my head that are going to start this year because I think Neighbors and the other guy also both went to the NFL.
Well, they
But do you guys think that they can hold up a bit, or do you think you guys will have to get him through get him rushing 4 to be able to hold up? Get to Nussmeyer with 4.
You never know what the next bumper crop of superstars is going to be, but they lost Neighbors, like I said. They lost Brian Thomas. You know, he's they
Brian
like
Thomas, that was the other guys.
yeah, and then you have I'm blanking out. I just said his name 5 times. Quarterback Jaden
Daniels.
Daniel.
Sorry, it's been a long day, guys. So you can't just you can't reload it. Everyone's talking about how USC lost Caleb. What are they going to do? What's their offense going to be like? You know, and yet LSU loses a big chunk of production. So again, 3 NFL first rounders, and the discussion is really not that much. It's really a lot of on USC. I think the strength of this USC team. And here's the thing, and I say this, and I have no idea what this defensive line is going to be. I think at worst, this is going to be a solid. We're going to have a very, very good, solid defensive line. At best, with a question mark on depth in the interior. At best, holy crap! I honestly, and I'm not just saying this. I don't know what the ceiling for this whole group of guys are. I just don't know. There's a lot of question marks. But if that depth is there, and if these guys all play to potential. We're here to talk about, Coach Newell, Coach Henderson, and singing their praises. I know that they're going to get these guys ready. But at this point, I would definitely say that the strength of this defense is going to be the secondary. And I'm excited to see this. There's going to be a huge fight for at the corner position. That's for sure. I mean, it's most likely that you could have John Humphreys, at one corner. And then you're going to have either, Jacoby Covington and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on Nicholson on the other side. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be good competition. And the depth you have at safety and the depth you have at corner, that's really the strength. You have Mascarenas Arnold's brother, Akili Arnold. He's going to be at safety. I don't know, Matt. I mean, do you see a weakness in the secondary? That's with Kamari Ramsey knowing the defense as well as he does. It's just when we talked about, at least when I've talked about, what the strength of this defense, what we do know about it is, and what shined. And if you looked at the spring game, I know it's just a spring game, but it was the secondary that really showed out in that spring game. So a lot of length. You even had Williams, young freshman, true freshman, getting interception in that game. So I really do like the fact, one, they lost a lot of talent in their passing game, and 2, I think it's a strength of our team.
Yeah, I think a key point is just that, Danton Lynn has 2 UCLA guys coming over to USC. So once again, those are going to be coaches on the field. Those are going to be guys who already know the system. They can just communicate, relay information to their teammates. That's gonna really accelerate the process of getting good habits and instincts ingrained. And we have to emphasize this point that remember, in the off season, college football removed the limits on the number of coaches who could coach in the stadium and on the practice field. You know, there was that limitation, and that limitation is what prevented Lincoln Riley from hiring a special teams coordinator. But now that that limit's gone, you know, that means that an analyst such as Taylor Mays, he's now free to provide hands-on coaching. Like we know that this policy change from college football, it occurred. I'm not sure we all realize just how much of a potential benefit that could be to USC, that Taylor Mays is now allowed. He's free to coach this secondary hands-on. Like we all saw what he did in the Holiday Bowl. You know, a year of Dante Williams did zip. Taylor Mays gets 2 weeks with that secondary for the Holiday Bowl, and he whips everybody into shape. So Taylor Mays helping Doug Belk with the secondary. Like I just think that the quality of teaching is going to be so good that these guys are going to be ready. It's hard not to be optimistic about this secondary. I think optimism about the secondary comes across very naturally. I wrote at Trojans Wire earlier today, and I'm promoting my work a little bit more just because I didn't want to sell my work in the off season, partly because no one really was reading the website, but also because
there's not much to do in the off season.
We really are into the season now. So I will be promoting my work a little bit more, and you can read it at trojanswire.usatoday.com. One of the things I wrote today was, hey, Dante Williams flipped Dominic Kelly from USC to Georgia. Should we be mad? Should we be upset that Dante Williams got away? Well, I wrote very emphatically, no. And the biggest reasons we should not be upset that Dante Williams got away to Georgia and Kirby Smart, Doug Belk, and Taylor Mays, because you're getting such a better quality of coaching, of teaching, of game preparation. It's going to show on the field the value from the quality of coaching that USC has in this room on this staff. It's going to make it very easy to shrug off any recruiting win that Dante Williams gains for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Will?
Feeling just as good with the linebacker. Mm-hmm. If you don't have, I have one more question. If you guys don't have a lot more people on the line, so if you guys have a lot more people on the line, I can share it save it for next week.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of queue starting. Actually, hold on, let me look. Maybe I've been a little away from it, but go ahead. Just go ahead, Will. I mean, you waited. If you have something quickly.
Are you feeling just as good about the linebackers? You don't have to go into detail.
I talked about a little bit earlier. Yeah, I mean, I do like. There's a general sense of depth at linebacker, really. I mean, I like it for what we have. I don't think a lot of SC fans yet know Easton Macarinas Arnold, but he was an all conference player. He's a great tackler. I think we talked a little bit. It allows Mason Cobb to move from that mic over to Will Backer and just kind of play downhill and just play to his strengths, and then I think in the backup, backing up, Rajon Davis is a guy there at Mike linebacker that could help us out. Eric Gentry's played Mike linebacker. Then you get the young guys. We've been hearing about Elijah Newby. I mean, it'd be amazing. Garrison Madden's a really fast guy that hasn't really got on the field yet. I'd like to see what he can do. There's just a lot. I mean, there's the linebacker room is solid, but it's unproven. It's a lot. You know what? It's a lot like it's kind of the opposite of the secondary. It's like the secondary is a bunch of veteran guys, and then they haven't been at SC, but wherever they were starting. They weren't at USC, but they have veteran depth. They played. Whereas you have like at the other positions, like at the defensive interior, and then also the whole defensive line in general. Once you get past a couple of guys, you start getting some young, talented, very uber talented guys that were coveted by everyone in the country, really. But it's not proven depth. I think at linebacker, I feel a lot more comfortable about proven depth. And the same thing in the secondary. So the question mark that you have is again just that kind of question mark we have on the defensive line is how far have these guys come along, and how long will it take to get some of the younger guys ready to play? And it's tough to come in and play as a first or second year player but I think that there's some uber talented players that could be able to do it. And Rajon Davis, is a bit of backup. I've been a big fan of his going all the way back to modern day. Yeah, he's had some health issues, but whenever he's got into games, you guys, he's got his helmet on the ball. He's in there. He's just around the play. So I'd love to see what what his play is like. Because I feel bad for some of these guys because they haven't had the coaching. Well, now with the coaching under Entz playing in Lynn's system, let's see what Rajon could do on the field. So yeah, I'm excited about the linebackers are a little deeper than the defensive line, but again, it gets kind of young pretty quick in that linebacker group. Matt, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same story with the Irish. They get young really quick in the linebacker room, too. Well, thanks again, guys, for taking my call. And, yeah, by the way, I'm having a little college football hangout party on the Discord server. So if you're a member on that, those should be fun tonight. Well, I was going to do it after the show, but I know you guys are doing another hour, so I might start a little early just to gather the troops.
At the very least, I'm gonna stop by, see you, Will. So I'll count on me. I'll be there. I don't know how long I'm gonna stay because I'm exhausted, but I will be there.
Can we post the link?
Guys.
Can we post the link or?
Will, if you drop it,
Drop it.
You could drop it in the
It's
chat.
gonna be for the Mark. Yeah, I'll drop the link in the chat. For
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. No, it's for Mark's Discord, Matt. It's a Patreon thing. So, all right. Well, thank you, Will. Appreciate you being here, and I'll talk to you very soon. Go Irish, except for one week of the year.
Yeah, fight on for except for 1 week of the year.
I'm with you, Will. All right. Catch you later. Yeah. So we behind on super chats again? I think we are. So Jeff, again, thank you for your $10 super chat. Fight on. Thank you very much. I think this is for me. Bootlicker Frank from Tucson.
Hey, Tim, I'm never going to forgive you for being such a bootlicker. Never.
So appreciate the $5 and fight on. Thank you for being here. And then we also have another one from Mark Williams from Albuquerque, I believe, New Mexico. Mark, thank you for being here. Another guy's been from the very beginning. Appreciate you and your $10 donation as always. And I know this phone number because this gentleman has been calling since the beginning as well. Gary from Dana Point, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I wasn't sure if I was going to call in. I didn't get a notification. I wasn't even sure if for some reason you were going to be on. But let me make my usual attempt to illustrate something. Prior to Napoleon taking over in France, they were run by a political party, the Bourbons, like in the liquor, the Bourbons. And then when Napoleon was vanquished the first time, then the Bourbons came back into power. And the noted philosopher Robespierre said of the Bourbons, they learned nothing and they forgot nothing. And that's sort of a profound idea. And what's my point? Lincoln Riley has learned everything he needed to learn about what to be and what to do. And I think our secret weapon, if you will, is the fact that we are going to be armed and dangerous. If I was a USC player last season and I came back this year, I'd be ready to run through a wall to silence the mockery and the reviling of USC that's gone on. I would be ready to go anywhere and do anything. I think that football is 90% mental, and we've heard that before. But I think our weapon is we have a mindset. We're not like the Bourbons, where they came back and learned nothing and forgot nothing. Riley learned everything he needed in the off season, and I think it's going to be translated on the field. I would be shocked if we weren't a juggernaut to be reckoned with. Maybe I'm not predicting 12-0, but I'm saying I think we have the great coaching there in all of our assistants. But Riley is on a mission. And I have a feeling some of these kids are on a mission as well. The last thing I'd want to do as a football player is to play a team that's out for blood. And I think we will be. And so I don't know what your thoughts are. We're headed into it's crunch time now, and it's put up or shut up. But I think we are armed and dangerous. What do you think?
I think we just won a national championship.
What I do know is I know that Pete Carroll, kind of was like that, that energy guy, right? And what I've kind of noticed, right or wrong, maybe it's just my perception, Lincoln Riley usually is very measured, very reserved, very, methodical, very just matter of fact. I saw an edge with him at the Big Ten Media Days. I saw a couple of questions kind of get under his skin. He didn't lose his composure, but you ever seen that, Gary, where it's like that little twinkle where you see someone about to go off, but they have the calm just to pull it back and go and just make some really salient points saying, hey, look, I'd put our history up with anybody in the Big Ten, and we didn't just start playing football. I think USC, I've said it 3 times on this show. It's been a long offseason, but it's been a longer offseason for the players and coaches. I think they know what they have. I think they're ready to unleash it on the Big Ten. I think they have the talent. I think they have the coaching. It appears they have the culture in place. They have a lot going for them. All that's left is to show it in Las Vegas. And like we're saying, I think we're gonna know. We're gonna know about maybe 5 to 6 minutes, I think, into that third quarter, I think, is where I think we're going to see what team we have. I think they're going to come in out with some adjustments in the second half, maybe the first drive, maybe the beginning of the second drive of the third quarter, and I think that's what we're going to see what this team is made of. I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. I keep saying it. I literally, Gary, have no idea what this defensive line is going to be like. I know they're going to be good. Can they hold up for four quarters? Can they hit back when they're smashed in the mouth? It's going to happen a couple times this year. Are they going to hit back? And I'm looking at these guys. I'm saying, yeah, they're going to hit back. So I want to see it. I want to see it because, otherwise.
Hey, Tim, I'm never going to forgive you for being such a bootlicker. Never.
But I know that this team, what it can be. But we also know, anyone, Gary, you've watched a lot of football. Matt, you've watched a lot of football. There's what's on paper and there's what's on the turf. And if we can get what we see on paper on the turf, then I am very bullish. Matt, you got that look again. Go ahead. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. My thought listening to Gary from Dana Point's, story of the week, his illustrative, lead in, his introduction, it made me think that, Gary, you could have been Beano Cook in a different life, right? Because you could, I can imagine you saying, the French haven't been this sharp since a guillotine in 1790, something like that, or the French haven't been out for blood this much since Robespierre and the Terror. So that you could have been Beano Cook in a different existence, but to get to your point, like that is one thing that Tim and I have definitely been saying, that all the toxicity and all the frustration from last year, and now all of the skepticism from the national media, the talking heads, people who are saying, you know what? Okay, Lincoln Riley hired a new staff, but he still doesn't care about defense because we just don't think he's accountable. Just the simple fact that Lincoln Riley is coaching this team, like he could hire Buddy Ryan and Bill Arnsparger and Marv Goo and several other all-world defensive assistant coaches, and it wouldn't matter. Like it wouldn't move the needle. It wouldn't register for any of them. Boy, if you are a USC player, you have to be PO'd, and hopefully you are PO'd. And they're just going to absolutely, as you said, Gary, run through a brick wall, and just that commitment to be great, that fuel in the fire to prove a point. Hopefully that's going to animate USC against LSU, and that's just going to carry through the rest of the season. That really does need to be part of the reality for USC. I mean, we can talk about chalkboard excellence, which we think this defensive staff is going to bring to the table. We can talk about technique, which we think this defensive staff is going to bring out in these players, but it has to be married with a singular, profound durable commitment to want to be great. And that's a hunger that has to be married to the gains in the weight room, to the gains in football IQ, to all the different things that we're talking about. There does have to be that very deep hunger, and we'll see how much USC wants it in week 1.
And that hunger is there. It did start in the offseason because it was one thing that Lincoln Riley said is that all the guys are asked to make weights, like either drop or gain the weight 100%. And a big part of this is Rachel Zuba and Benny Wiley, but they got there. And then that's hard. It really is hard to put on that weight. It's really hard to shed that weight a lot of times for some of these guys, but as a team. And I think that may speak to the culture of these guys buying in the offseason. Nothing like being embarrassed to motivate you. Nothing like coming from somewhere and wanting to prove something. Nothing like wanting to get to the NFL, to light a fire under your ass, to get you together as one team, to get better and to prove something. And that's why I said to a couple of the players on Wednesday, it's been a long off season, and the look in their faces were like, yeah, and we're ready. We are ready. And there's little things like that, Gary, that get me excited.
Well, I'm with you on that. And I also think that Lincoln Riley, if he was playing poker, there's a tell. The tell was that little chippiness from him. I think it's a tell of how determined he is. One last thing is sort of anecdotal, but it illustrates the second thing that I was getting at is the team and the mental state of the USC players. I've got a grandson who is a fantastic football player, but he had some setbacks. But he's back now, and he when he takes the field now at practice, he is absolutely on fire, and you could tell. And what's happened? What's the resurrection? It's the state of his mind, and the state of mind of these USC guys, I think, is going to be take no prisoners. And you never want to underestimate the thinking and the emotions and the mental state of young men and young boys. Because they can this is why we send 18-year-olds to war. We don't send old guys like me to war. We set these kids that are going to run through the bayonet charge and, take no prisoners. So anyway, I think we have intangible reasons to be very excited about USC, just like I have tangible reasons to be excited about what my grandson's doing. But it's the intangible things that I always see that seem to carry the most weight and will probably carry the farthest distance. So anyway, I'm very excited about USC, and I do appreciate you, Tim, and Matt for guiding us through this little morass of the off season with insightful comments and being there as a format and a foil for all of it. So thank you so much. I know I've been long today, but anyway, thank you guys, and fight on.
Fight on, Gary. Don't ever worry about being too long on our show. You've been here since the beginning, and I'm very grateful for you being here tonight and along with us for the whole off season. It's been great. And Matt and I, we do have to do a lot of guessing, but here's the news. All of us, you guys are great out there with your football knowledge. We're going to start seeing some tomorrow. I'm lucky enough that I'm going to be at practice. It could be a full practice. We got to watch a little bit this morning. But tomorrow will be a we get to watch a full practice, and I'm really excited to see there's a lot of patterns run against air, right? As far as the quarterback, as far as the receivers, it's gonna be good to see some of these battles again with the secondary. And speaking of the secondary, man, I left out there's some of the new guys like for instance, like Greedy Vance is a guy that we're talking about our depth on defense. One thing that was said about him is that he's just uber sticky. He's just a coverage guy. So I cannot wait to see teams try to pass on us, and then I can't wait to see with the height and size USC has secondaries try to cover our receivers. It's gonna be almost comical to watch these guys trying to cover like 6'4" Jacoby Lane, right? 6'6" Deuce Robinson, and then you talk about guys like Kyron Hudson and Jaden Richardson and Ford, who are about 6'1", but they play big. I mean, they're good size, but they play bigger than that. Then you move into our tight end room. That's one thing, I think because the tight ends have not gotten a lot of play over the past couple of years with Lincoln Riley, we've forgotten just what a great job that Hanson's doing with that tight end room, and slowly amassing just a group of dudes. And I saw just how big Joey Olsen, Walter Matthews, our Walker Lyons came in. He had his Mormon mission last year. These guys are legit tight ends, and I can't wait to see who gets to climb to the cream of the crop in that group. But that would add a huge wrinkle, Matt, that's been kind of missing from this offense for a while. And now you have these guys like Joey Olsen. If you talk to Gabe, the guy was a prolific pass catcher. Well, all those guys are. And then the guy, both Walter Matthews and Joey Olsen, talking 6'5", 250 kind of guys. Walker Lyons, another guy, just an insane. You go look at his Instagram, some of the catches that's going up high for this one-handed catch in the end zone. It's going to be an interesting wrinkle they're adding to their offense, and I think we're going to see a lot of it. And if people are talking about how we're going to beat some of these defenses, I think that's going to be a big part of it. You good, Matt? Anything to add? No? Well, you know what? We don't have any calls. We had 3 calls. You guys dropped off. But we're here, and we're here for a while. 888-997-4539. If you've ever wanted to call the show, look, I'd love to have a first-time caller. Give us a call. Let us know. Fall camp just started. We're less than a month away before football is going to kick off. And we'll all be in some will be in Las Vegas, but everyone will be watching. Let us know. What are your fears? What are you excited about? Call in. Let us know. 888-997-4539. Matt, looks like we're going to have to cover it for a little while. Okay. What's on your mind?
Well, just first off, we have $150 in. So if you want a third hour, we need $100 more dollars for that third hour. So $150 in the door, $250 in the first 2 hours. That's what we need if you want us to be on the air for a third hour tonight at the Voice of College Football.
Matt,
Tim,
I think you're trying to kill me, Matt. I think you're legitimately trying to kill me.
I'm trying to give you money. You were at USC Media Day. I'm sure our viewers would want to be interested in some of the interesting moments, encounters, insights that you picked up from USC Media Day.
We can hit that in a second. Hang on one second. The biggest takeaway I had from the Media Day was. Hang on one second. Caller, can you turn down your TV or whatever you're listening on, please? The biggest takeaway I had.
I got it turned down. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. The biggest takeaway, Matt, really the overall takeaway that I had from it is just you can tell from the coaches whenever for instance, I kept trying to talk about Lucas, talk about just the movement and what's going on the inside. They literally said, that's why I'm saying I really don't know what this defensive line is going to be, because they were talking up the entire defensive line. They're rolling through the names of guys that, it's not that I was overlooking them, but they basically said, look, you guys aren't looking at this the right way. We have a lot of versatile players. It's not just an Anthony Lucas who was singled out and really was just singled out because the question was asked, is there a guy who's the most? He basically said that they have a bunch of guys along the defensive line that can play all along the line. And that's, I think, really what's going to be their secret sauce and why they weren't so active for that true nose guard. I'm interested to see how they're going to play the defensive line. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, it's Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports.
Hey, Jeffrey. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just saw you guys live tonight, and you said that nobody was calling in, so I figure I'd call in to talk about some USC and Big Ten football for a few minutes.
It's pretty amazing, right? The fact that USC is finally officially a member of the Big Ten.
I know. It still feels and sounds wrong. All of it does with the realignment and everything. I'm still trying to get used to it because, I was having it in my brain like the way it was before. Now you just have to totally think, differently about everything. Because USC, I saw the map, how they had the graphic or whatever of the
the Big Ten the way it was before, going from Nebraska to Rutgers. Now they've added the West Coast teams, and it's the whole country is on the graphic. It's crazy.
I liked it. What'd you think of it, though? I mean, I know you're an Indiana fan, right? Correct?
Yes, I like Indiana football the most from the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah. So first off, it's about time, because I think during the Big Ten media days, they played that ad, but it was. Oh, I guess you're right, though. Technically, even though USC was at the media days, as we're talking about today was the first official entry into it. But I gotta say, if you have, if you bring in 4 coaches and like 12 players from the other teams, you can at least put them in the commercial, even as a week early. Yeah, I think you probably could have put them in there, because it's like, why are these guys up on the stage if they're not, the conference? But I get officially that they began, but it was a great commercial. And if you guys, if you haven't noticed, I believe that Gabe was telling me, Gabe, if you're in the chat still, I think you can get Big Ten Plus for free this season. I don't know. I got to figure out what the heck what the angle on that is, but I'm definitely interested, because that's the spillover channel. If you guys are interested in some of the Olympic sports, but also like things like baseball and like replays, etc., you're going to want to get that service, which is not cheap, but for this season, it's going to be for free.
Yeah, that's really cool. For sure to have a Big Ten Plus. Yeah, definitely with the subscription stuff. I mean, people are paying enough as it is just to watch most of the games, so it's kind of tough to get all the extra stuff. But yeah, I mean, have it for free, it's pretty cool. And it's funny because I remember like the Pac-12 was supposed to be dead or whatever at the end of June or something like that, to turn over to the new year. But then, like you said, they officially joined today or yesterday or whatever. It was just weird how that happened, that little gap where it's like they're now no longer in the Pac-12, I guess, but they haven't officially joined the Big Ten. That was weird.
Yeah. I'm really energized for it. I can't wait. I'm going to Michigan. I'm going to LSU, going to Michigan. I don't think I'm going to make Minneapolis, but I'm going to try to get to Maryland. It's going to be great to go to some of these.
So you go to the games now, right? You go.
I've always gone to the games, but yeah, now I'm covering for Trojans Wire for Matt. So yeah,
that's awesome. I thought I saw that a while back. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun. It's demanding. Believe me, I got a slave driver right over here who's always pushing. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's been. It's been a great experience so far. I did the whole basketball season. That was great as well. So yeah. Any questions for specifically, or you want to let us know about, what do we all look forward to? And I know we don't play Indiana this year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I wish USC was playing Indiana, even though more likely USC would win, but that would still be fun for sure. I'm looking at USC's schedule, and I wrote in the chat that I feel like the schedule's tough, but it's manageable. I think like for, their first season of being in the conference, like there's enough games where they're like winnable, or like USC will be favored in, to the point where they should have a good year, depending on what most USC fans are thinking of a good year. Maybe it wouldn't be, but like for what I'm expecting. Because, I mean, we talked in the past, remember, you've given me a lot of flack, Tim, because I've said, like, when USC joins the Big Ten, it's going to be a whole different ordeal. It's going to be a lot tougher. So I'm not really expecting it to be a really smooth transition. But obviously, USC fans, you included, like, no, we're going to be just fine. But I feel like the schedule's tough but manageable. But what are you – because for me, I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing, like, maybe 8-4. Ish, maybe 9-3, but what are you what do you feel like would be a good first season for USC, like record wise?
So I can cheat again, like I always told people, you can hedge this easily and say 9-3. That's a safe bet, right? Because I think that's the most likely scenario, given the fact that we don't know anything about this defense. I mean, we know what we believe it's going to be. It's just going to hinge. I think that the offensive line could be good to great. I think that the defense would be good to great. If we get great and great, then you're looking at 11-1, you know, or who knows what they could do.
Mhm.
If we're looking at good and good, yeah, maybe you're looking more towards 8-4, 9-3. But what I want to see is good. What I want to see is solid. What I want to see is a team. What I want to see is improvement. What I want to see is not only improvement from last year to this year, but I mean, you know, from week 1 to week 2, from week 2 to week 3. You know, again, a lot like we saw in 2001 with Pete Carroll when they go 6-6. But every week it was these, you know, it was these tight games, and culminated with shutting out UCLA. I mean, that's the kind of season that I want to see from USC. Now, granted, we don't have Sonny Bird at tailback, but you get what I'm saying. Is that you want the team to get better, you want to show improvement. I don't think this pressure everyone thinks that Lincoln Riley's under, or kind of hot seat they're saying Lincoln Riley's on. I think it's absurd. I think that you need, for positive momentum in recruiting, all they need to do is show recruits this year that what they've established for a staff is going to be sufficient to one, be competitive and get to the playoffs, two, get to the NFL. I'm very confident about the second one, and I'm very confident about the first one, but is how well will they be able to do that in 1 year, in the first year of this defense, is going to be the wild card. Matt, what are your thoughts?
So right now I'm at 9-3 for USC. I think that, you know, USC needs to be 9-3 to think that this is going in the right direction. But one always has to make the allowance for, you know, the improbable. You know, maybe you play a great game and you still somehow lose. You know, that could happen. So if USC's 8-4, but like a couple of its losses are absolute classics, you know, I'll allow for that kind of exception. But on balance, need to be 9-3, hope to be 10-2. LSU is the pivot point, and you know, assuming if USC does win the LSU game, and I'm not counting on that, but like USC definitely has a chance, then the next really, really big game is that Penn Stater on October 12th, and then we'll see if USC can be 10-1 heading into the Notre Dame game, or if USC is 9-2 and needs that Notre Dame game at the very end to get to 10-2. And of course, if USC gets to 10-2 with this schedule, it will be in the playoffs. So 9-3 really is my baseline expectation for this team. And, you know, people ask me, which games will USC lose? Michigan and Notre Dame. And then here's the thing, like, this is what part of why, you know, 10-2 is a possibility. I can't really tell you exactly where that third loss is going to come from, but I just think that depth, some injuries, some attrition at some point along the line are probably going to trip this team up. Like, I don't feel confident in saying they're going to lose to Penn State, because I'm not sold on Penn State's offense. I actually think USC has a pretty decent chance against Penn State, but there might be just one game that just doesn't work really well. I've noted that the Maryland game, we don't have an announced kickoff time for that game, but that is probably going to be a noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific game, probably on Big Ten Network, because you have the Rutgers Friday night game next week. So you're probably not going to play a late Saturday game before a Friday game. That's probably going to be on October 19 in College Park, an early game. So like that could be one of those body clock ambush type situations. Again, I'm not predicting USC to lose that, but like that is a potential landmine to look out for. But I think that 9-3 is really, you know, like if USC at least reaches that, then you can really sell the NFL development, the improved defense, the other things that the program has in its favor. You know, the practice field just opened up, the new practice field with that fresh turf. You know, there are a lot of things moving in the right direction. If USC goes 9-3, I think there's a general sense that the program will be moving forward, and there will be positive vibes going into 2025. But if it's 7-5 or 8-4, man, then it's going to be a really, really rough scene around here.
You know, one thing last year, like everyone talks about, you know, USC losing 5 games in year 2, but let's take a look at, I mean, and I'm not making excuses, and believe me, the defense, it was clear the team was just was having issues on the offensive line and the defense as a whole. But like usually when you hear other teams, they always make concessions for them, because really when you really look at last season, you know, USC lost to, well, let's look at them. They lost to Washington by single digits, right? They lost to Oregon by 9. And then the games that really were rough were the 2 games against UCLA and Notre Dame, where USC was only able to score 20 points in both those games. Well, we went and we took the defensive coordinator that held us to 20 points in that game. And again, the thing with Notre Dame is they really were ready for Caleb Williams. They just kind of unleashed on him. He was unable to roll out. They really had a great game plan for him and just really bottled him up. So I mean, the way people talked about that 5-loss season and really the way they're going to talk about USC this year. Let's say USC drops 4 games, but they lose to they lose to Penn State, or they lose to Michigan, LSU, Notre Dame. I mean, look at USC's schedule. I'm not building in excuses. That no one on the USC football team's looking for excuses. I'm not certainly giving excuses. But if you look up and down this roster, also a couple of these games, I believe, isn't Wisconsin coming into LA on a bye? I'm almost certain that they are. And then there's another bye game as well against teams. This is not an easy schedule. I hear what you're saying, as far as shaping up for the schedule. But anyone looking at this schedule and saying it's an easy schedule, or it's a favorable schedule, this is one of the tougher schedules USC's had in years. And that's coming off of year last year, again, where we played Notre Dame, a really good Oregon team, and a really good Washington team. So the loss that really killed that team last year, and think about this, as bad as that season was that fourth quarter last drive collapse to Utah. Talk about a narrative game in and of itself, that game right there, because without that game, which they absolutely should have won, without that game and making the pig farmer look like John Elway coming down the field for set up a winning field goal, without that game, now you're talking about going 9-4 and a big win in a playoff with that defense. And keep that in mind, you guys. We're talking right now about USC's last season and how bad the defense was. Absolutely right. That defense was really, really bad. And they still won 8 games. They still won those 8 games and really should have won 9. So even with this tough schedule, I don't think anyone needs to pull the ripcord and say, oh, shit, we're going to lose a bunch of games this year. I am not saying that. Why I say 9-3 is because I'm with you, Matt. I think this is a great team. I'll take our 22 against anybody. I really will. And we do have depth around the team. But there's certain positions and certain places, especially, again, on the defensive line, where you really need to rotate that team. I'm not talking about just late in the season, late in games. Think about in Ann Arbor. If they do decide just to pin their ears back and just run at us and just get one of those big, like, suffocating Python games where they just kind of really try to squeeze the play clock out of you and kind of cut down the possessions and really kind of just wear you down with the run game. That's where we'll see where our depth is and how these young guys can get in, provide depth. Because if they're not able to rotate those linemen, they're going to be gassed late in that fourth quarter. And we saw what happened to a talented Ohio State team when that happens and the floodgates open up in the fourth quarter. Guys are ripping off 80-yard touchdowns. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Jeffrey. Thank you for calling in. Anything else you want to add before you go?
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad I was able to make the show tonight. It was a blast calling in. I mean, just to add to what you said, what both of you guys said real quick before I get off, is that, I mean, the thing is like you both said, it's a tough schedule, but I feel it's manageable in a way. It's not ridiculously just impossible, but when you look at the overall, like the games and the way that they're placed, and like you said, some of the teams with the buys and everything, it's not easy either. I mean, LSU, that's the problem with week 1 games, is you just don't know how ready your team's going to be. I think it helps USC out that the game's in Las Vegas. That's a big bonus. But still, like, if you don't win that game, then already the season's starting on the wrong foot. And it stinks, because a lot of times, if you lose a week 1 game like that, maybe later in the year, you would have been able to beat that team. So that's a game USC, if you win that game, start on the right foot. At Michigan's tough. At Minnesota's not easy, even though Minnesota's not as good anymore right now. Penn State's hard. At Maryland's trap game. At Washington and Notre Dame, like I said, 8-4. 9-3 is what I'm seeing. Probably 9-3. I mean, the team's really, really good, but I just think that with all this realignment in general, including USC, it's just going to be interesting to see how all the teams do in the new conferences. They're playing new teams as well. Teams are not familiar with playing all the time. It's just going to be wild to see the adjustment. I think USC, having Lincoln Riley for a couple of years now, trying to build that defense. The defense is the key. being now in the Big Ten, going up against, quality teams on both sides of the ball, they need the defense to be good to keep the scores, lower scoring games. They can't have shootouts like that Cal game last year, the Arizona game, if they're going to have a good year. But I'm looking forward to seeing USC in the Big Ten. It's an exciting time for the Trojans and the conference as a whole. And I think if they have a 9-3 year, it's overall a good season for the Trojans, especially with how tough their schedule actually is. So it's going to be interesting. But thanks for letting me call in, and hope you guys have a great rest of the show.
You are very welcome. You're an Alabama fan. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm an Alabama fan from the SEC.
That's right.
Yes,
I knew that. But you do like Indiana.
I'm a grifter on that, but I do like Indiana out of the Big Ten. Yes.
I thought I remembered that. Jeffrey, I thought I remember that. Listen, great call. Appreciate you calling in. Roll Tide, because we don't play you this year. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tim. Have a good one.
All right. Sorry, guys. I think those 3 guys called back because now we're up to 6 calls. That was my bad. I keep it. There's so much to look at, man. It's unreal what I'm doing here. I did pull up the schedule though. I did want to take a look. Because I know there's a couple buys in there too. Hi, caller. Which name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, guys. This is Gerardo, downtown LA.
Gerardo, nice to hear from you again. Haven't heard from you in a while.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm watching. I'm always watching. I don't always have an intelligent question to ask, so I just listen. But today I still don't have an intelligent question, but I got a couple comments, that maybe you guys can touch upon. One is, I think success in a great way is situational. I mean, look at, number 1 picks in the NFL draft, depending on where they go. You put Pete Carroll in New England, he sucked. You put him at USC, he's king of college football. Right. So the fish rats from the head, but the opposite is true. So goes the leaders, so goes the organization. And so I think in terms of our coaching staff, which are our leaders, I think we have a plus. And I can't think of too many, maybe 1, maybe 2, that I would rather have other than Riley and our current staff. I'm not sure if you guys know any weak links in the offensive staff, because we've talked a lot about the defensive staff. Maybe you can touch on that. But, top organizations, they work because they have the right personnel, which for us is recruiting and the portal. They develop staff, they develop talent, invest correctly, which for us is coaching salaries, NIL, facilities. And then they have the right strategies, the right play calling, etc. And of course, analyzing the competition. So having said all that, where do you think?
Gerardo?
I don't know.
I've been pretty clear. Gerardo, I've been pretty clear in saying that Josh Henson is the guy on this staff, particularly the offensive side of the ball, who really needs to prove himself. And I hope he does great. I don't want him to fail. But after last year, his reputation in the industry and his position at USC very much in question. And he needs to deliver with these young offensive linemen. And if he does, then USC's in a really, really good spot. But if he doesn't, then we need to ask some big questions. So that to me is, in terms of anyone on the coaching staff who needs to answer some questions decisively, it's Josh Henson.
Okay, and I'm I'm on record for saying that Josh Henson walked into an old Mother Hubbard with the empty cupboard. That's what I talked about. The fact that he walked in, and if you look at Coach Helton, who basically was a dead man walking for 3-4 years, recruiting it's weird. They had that really good recruiting class, but if you look back, there was a huge absence of offensive line recruiting under Helton, and guys medical. There were just issues. So Riley gets here, and Henson gets here, and yes, they did have that group of guys. Again, the 2022 guys came in. Clay McGuire had them ready to go, and Henson walked in, and did a great job coaching up, bringing Bobby Haskins at left tackle. They patched it together. Then last year they tried to cobble together because why? Because they just didn't have anything behind there, and they had some injuries. And then they had an issue with guys, that medically retired before, White, before he even got in here. It was kind of a makeshift cobbled together line last year. But I am with Matt. Whereas he's a bit wait and see, I'm bullish and I'm excited. But where we both do have common ground is this is year 3. And I think that, there should be a marked improvement. I do think there's going to be, I think this line is big. I think they're nasty. They got the right mindsets. I think that they are going to take that next step. So that part I'm excited about. We already talked about Zach Hansen quietly putting together one of the better rooms talent-wise on the team. There hasn't been a lot of tight end action. Nick McCree was got hurt before the when did he go down? Well, he got hurt. And it just didn't seem like there was a lot. We just didn't do a lot after that. We had Tabarachi at H-back. It just seemed like we did much of it last year with the tight end. I think this year you're going to see a lot of that. Anthony Jones Jr., this is a guy who's remember talking about development? This is the kind of guy that gets guys, was at Memphis. He's just putting guys, into the NFL. I mean, he's a developer of talent. I think that running backs see that. I think we got a great running back room. I think Woody Marks is going to be just a remarkable guy. He's known for his pass catching, but he's gonna make people. He's gonna show people what he can do between the tackles this year. I've been really high on Quentin Joyner for a while. Marion Peterson just waiting for a chance, and then you got Brian Jackson, the freshman coming in who just showed that the goal line, just a thumper, man. And I can't remember who I asked about, talk about Brian, and he said he just likes to hit people. So I mean, I'm really excited to see it. So Anthony Jones, I think, saw as well. Dennis Simmons, wide receiver coach, talk about wide receivers. Yes, we kind of missed a little bit last year, but go back one more year and look at those 4 guys we're going to be like gushing over this year. That the second year guys, redshirt freshmen and sophomores, a lot of those guys, it's a special group, and I think we expect a lot of them. So on the offensive side of the ball, I think the offensive coaching is going to be amazing. Again, our issue has not been on offense. It hasn't been an issue on offense. Yes, there was an issue with the offensive line, but I think that's more of a product of the fact of what they had coming in, when they came over from Oklahoma into USC system, what they had to work with. Matt, you're always one talking about the ingredients, remember? What kind of ingredients do you have? That's going to tell you what kind of meal you're going to have. Well, they walked into some players, but it definitely was not what USC is used to seeing in an offensive line. I mean, we are running back you, and we're running back you for a reason. It's because of the linemen that blocked for those running backs. Sure, we had some talented running backs over the year, but we've also had all pros. We have more Hall of Fame offensive tackles than anybody in the NFL. And just a list of all American linemen. Yes, we've gone more towards the passing, like kind of as offenses have gone more passing. But when I was growing up as a kid, it was just, even the years we did poorly, even like when we had like the J-Rob years and the Hackett years, we were putting guys into the NFL. We were still putting huge offensive linemen into the NFL every single year. And that's what USC needs to get back to doing. Hope that covered everybody, Gerardo. Oh, and by the way,
no.
By the way, don't worry about calling in and being intelligent, because Matt lets me come on every week, so you don't have to be intelligent to be on the show. So don't worry about that. Did you have any other questions for us, or any other comments?
No worries. Sure. If you look at our receivers, how many of the guys we have are going to be playing on Sunday one day? And looking at the teams we're going to play, because I can only compare. I don't want to compare right now with the Georgia, so people we may meet in the playoffs, because we may or may not get there. But if you look at the Big Ten and Notre Dame, who has the kind of receivers that we do, and would you trade them? Just like we've been talking about the coaching, right? I mean, I think that, Matt said it, the offensive line is going to make this team roll or stall. But yeah, talk about the receivers a little bit if you have a second.
Yeah, we do have a second, but we have 4 people waiting, and I think we're running out of time because I don't think we have enough for a third hour, and I'm probably going to pass out right on the camera. So what wide receivers I see going to the NFL? I think pretty much all the receivers have potential to go to the NFL. I don't know. The sophomores have let's let them get past their freshman year. I don't want to speak to it. You know what we should do, Gerard? I'll even do this. We won't wait till the end of the season. Let's let these guys play 4 or 5 games, and then we'll talk, because a lot of these guys came here to have a chance to play in Lincoln Riley's system and to see what they could do here at this stage in the Big Ten. And I don't want to talk to the upperclassmen's prospects of making the NFL until we get to see them play on Saturdays. I don't think that'd be fair to them. I think that all of the sophomores that we talk about all the time, I think all of them have a great chance of being in the NFL. But for the guys that have come in recently, I want to see them play. I haven't really seen a lot of them play. A guy like Kyle Ford's been banged up a lot, and then he went over to that mess at UCLA trying to get some playing time. And we saw what happened there with their quarterback situation. Let's see what Kyle can put together this year, tape-wise, and let's see what the rest of the guys, Jay Fair and the other guys, let's see what they can do at Riley's system. Let's give them 4 or 5 games, and we can revisit this question. How about that?
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care. Fight on.
Tim, you get the next call.
Okay. I'm waiting for the next call. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, guys? It's Christian from Mission Viejo.
Oh, Christian, you just had Matt step away. Okay, but I guess I'll go up against your questions. I'll fly without a wingman. Let's do the first one.
No worries. So first off, I'm just going to touch on what you spoke about like probably 20 minutes ago. I mean, in my opinion, NCU saying USC isn't easy, probably delusional. And I won't go any more into that, but I mean, I can't really see how anybody would think that we have an easy schedule. So
I don't think he said. Well, hang on. To be fair, Christian, I don't think he said we have an easy schedule. I think he said we have a manageable schedule, which you can see from his viewpoint. Definitely. We don't play Oregon. We don't play Ohio State. We get Penn State at home. We get Nebraska at home. We get Wisconsin at home. So I think that's what he's talking about as far as having a manageable schedule. Unfortunately, we don't get to play Purdue. We don't get to play Indiana. We don't get to play Northwestern, right? So as much as we miss and hit, it's not an easy schedule. It's a very difficult. What makes our schedule difficult is that takes over the top for me is the out of conference games that we've chosen to self-inflict upon ourselves. So
yeah, starting off with LSU and closing out with Notre Dame. I mean, those are definitely some tough matchups.
And that's why when people rip on us for saying, "Oh, you guys, your over/under is like, what is it, 7? I think 7.5, 7." Yeah, that's why. I think
7.5.
If we're playing Akron and we're playing Citadel, right? Then our over/under is 9.5. Do you know what I mean? So when people want to crank on us, if you look at Ohio State's out of conference schedule, and I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, and that's how it always is. They play it easy.
No, not every year, but I mean,
all right.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
But yeah, it's favorable for them not being in a conference. They can schedule who they want, and I mean, I feel like they schedule a lot of laydowns.
Well, until this year, Michigan. I mean, look at Michigan's out of conference last year and the year before that. This year they're playing Texas, which is going to be a hell of a game. But in general, so a lot of these programs, and I'm not talking about USCC without talking about you, but I am talking about USCC. There's programs that don't schedule games that they can't take a bus to. So I mean, USC historically has done this to themselves, and I think now though they're going to have to start realizing the road to the playoffs, which is now the end all be all. It's not going to a New York Six Bowl anymore. It's getting to the playoffs. You can schedule your way there. And the people worried about, but we want to please kids. You'll play those games in the play. If you make the playoffs, you're going to play 2 really, if you win, you're going to play 3, 4 really good games. So that's what you got to think about going forward. It's a different type of football. You just got to think, you can't You can't look at it the way we used to look at scheduling. It's all changed. Everything is completely changed in football, and it's just the way it is. And people need to catch up with that idea. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to get into the question. Aside from any quarterback, who do you think is the most important backup?
Most important backup? I mean, like, so not the starter.
Yes, sir.
Not
the starter.
Who would be the most important backup? Well, I'm instantly to go to I don't know if it's the backup, but what happens if Jonah Monheim goes down? So then does that make is it Quinones or O'Connor maybe is who that role will be on offense, and then on the defense, it would be, because I'm going to say this, I really love Mason Cobb's play, but for whatever reason, when he was at Mike and he was just had all those responsibilities, he didn't play like himself in that defense. Well, not really. It's not fair because no one really played like themselves in that defense. But I'd like to see, it'd be interesting to see if Easton Macarius Arnold goes down, then, if Macarius Arnold goes down, then how well can Rajon come in, and fill that role? How can maybe Eric Gentry come in and fill that role? So on defense, that's where I probably would have my question mark as well. I'm really happy about the safety rooms. Yeah. Corners are really solid. But sorry. If Barry goes down, we're in trouble. So maybe that's your answer. Oh. Could a Nate Clifton step up? Could Carlin Jones just be this phenomenal freshman out of nowhere, which everyone was just banking on him coming as a freshman? Guys, remember, he has freshman size. He has like, sophomore, junior size. Does he have sophomore, junior, fifth year, senior strength is the question you need to ask yourself. Does he have the handwork? Does he have, and maybe he does. I don't know, but there's a couple positions, Christian, that could be really bad if the starter goes down. I'm not sorry, that's not fair. It could be really dicey. We don't have a lot of proven guys behind those guys if they do go down.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about every position group, but at this point, yeah, I can see a case for Easton, but honestly, I'm really confident in the freshmen that are coming in, and I feel like they showed a lot. Yeah, they're not proven, but
at the Mike position, do you really want a true freshman at your? I don't know if that would be.
No, you definitely don't. We had Tackett out there every game last year, and we saw what happened there. But I don't know. I just have a lot of confidence in the freshmen.
Well,
I think
you wouldn't go your freshman though.
Probably kill him.
You're not going to go your freshman. It's going to be Rajon Davis or Eric Gentry, in my opinion, that you'd see there before you'd see before you could see Elijah Newby or what. I think Walker's hurt actually, or Desmond Stevens. So
yeah, we could see the freshmen though getting a lot of reps like in rotation. Late in the games, and I'm sure they'll get reps at Utah State. I don't know. I think we'll be able to learn a lot from seeing what they can do as rotation players, and maybe confidence will flip on that.
It's just a lot to ask of a young man who was in high school last year to put him in that kind of a role, pretty much leading the defense. So just understanding concepts and stuff like that. I just think that's a lot for them to digest. So I don't think that you're gonna see a guy. You can see a guy like Rajon Davis, who's been, again, struck with injury pretty much his whole career and stuck in the defense that just wasn't working. I want to see what he does under Entz with a nice, healthy year behind him. I think he's going to be a solid backup for Mascarenas Arnold. I really do. Matt, your thoughts? Is there a backup? Sorry, go ahead, Christian. I don't want to mess your question up.
I was just asking, who is the most important backup aside from a quarterback?
I'm cheating. I'm looking at the chat. Maybe because we got a pretty smart chat. Maybe they can help me out.
In backup offensive and defensive linemen, really, but especially offensive line. If one piece is removed, and Tim will bring this up because he's brought it up in the past when Gino Quinones went down. it's not as though that offensive line should have collapsed without Gino Quinones, but when Gino Quinones did go down, you did see the level of production, the level of consistency drop. I mean, so Gino Quinones was a bigger piece than I think a lot of people probably imagined going into last season. But so the focus is less though on one guy. It's more just on that larger reality, right? That if one guy who you're giving some snaps to goes down and you have to fill that slot with somebody else, do you have a proven performer? So really, any of the backup offensive or defensive linemen, let's put it this way, USC needs to have as much depth on hand for LSU, Michigan, and especially Penn State, like in the first half of the season. Now, maybe in the second half of the season, right, you go into late October, early November, maybe the freshmen that, you can't really count on in September, maybe you bring them along, maybe they begin to get into the swing of things, they begin to grasp concepts, and they become viable options to get significant snaps in the back end of the season. But certainly in the first half of the season, man, you just cannot afford a whole lot of losses up front because, and this is where Tim and I are in alignment and we're in agreement that the starting 22 that USC is going to put on the field against LSU, barring any camp injuries in the next month, is going to be good. But as soon as attrition comes into play, what's it going to be like? And that's like, it's the great unknown, but you know that in football, injuries are going to happen in some way from some angle at some point. So defensive and offensive linemen, just USC's treading on thin ice. You would at least like to get through the Penn State game with minimal injuries. If you have some injuries in that late October, early November portion of the season, I mean, there's never a good time for injuries, but there is a worse time for injuries. And the worst time for injuries would be September. Hopefully USC can get through October 12 against Penn State with minimal attrition. And then if there are injuries in late October, then by then you hope that the freshmen can be ready to fill in some gaps.
Do you have another one for us,
Yeah.
Christian? Actually, we gotta pop this on a little quicker. Oh, well, actually, it's lost street call. You guys, I'm really sorry. Sometimes we forget that there's people in the call queue and they must be going crazy. We got people waiting 26 minutes. I do apologize. We will get your call if you call in. We're at the 9:00 hour. We have hit our 2 hours, but those people that were just on the call, Matt, if you have to go, but I'll honor them. The people that have hung up.
I'm here for the full. I'm here for the full 2 hours because Adam paid for it.
That's true. We started late. We started 10 minutes late as well. So that's on top of that as well. All right. Chris, you have another quick one for us really quick, and caller, if you just want to hang on for a minute, we'll be with you in 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah. Quick one. Let's see. Yeah. Who do you think are going to be the leaders for tackles, sacks, and interceptions?
Well, tackles, I'll go with your Mike linebacker. So I'll go with Easton Mascarenas Arnold. He had over 100 last year. So you said tackles, sacks, interceptions. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Sacks. Ooh, interesting. I'm gonna go with Anthony Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say Braylon Shelby or Elijah Hughes, but I'm gonna go with Anthony Lucas. I'm just it could be anybody. And then interception.
Yeah, exactly.
I would be lying if I said I had well mapped out answers. And, maybe that's a cop out on my part, but here's the thing. New coaching staff. One of the things that we're all counting on at USC is for this new coaching staff to bring out the best in a lot of guys who were not in a position to max out under the previous regime. And so in many ways, predicting who's going to be the statistical leader on defense, it gets to just how much the coaching staff is able to resonate with and max out the skill set of these various players. And I just can't predict how that dynamic is going to work. Is Coach Henney going to unearth this hidden gem or that one? Matt Entz, Doug Belk, Taylor Mays, are they going to just unearth something special in this kid or that kid? I don't know. I'm going to look at the LSU game, and then I think Utah State will be a time where you'll want to see a lot of freshmen play, because that's like the one cupcake game on the entire schedule. And then you have an off week, and then you have Michigan. I think after the Michigan game, we'll have a much, much better feel for who's going to be the statistical leader on this defense. But right now, for me, it feels like a blindfolded dart throw. Could be a cop-out, but we really don't know which guys are going to really connect with the staff. And we're expecting several players to do that, but which ones? Again, it's a dart throw.
So cheat like me, go chalk by position. Give your tackles to the Mike. Give Kamari Ramsey, because he's free safety, the interceptions, and give one of the defensive ends. That's what I did. I'm spitballing too, but I just went by the odds. Just cheat by position, Matt.
Same thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So those are mine. But appreciate you calling in, Christian. Great questions as always. Thank you so much for the call, and fight on.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Have a good one. Fight on.
All right. So again, we lost 3 callers. I do apologize. I was we have been doing it again. We've been running long on our calls, Matt.
But
I
hey,
do appreciate it.
No third hour tonight. So Tim will be able to get some sleep. But next week, we have the standing offer for a third hour if we get 250 in the door in the first 2 hours of the show. But hey, we thank you for all your contributions tonight here at the Voice of College Football.
Caller, hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mark calling from Albuquerque again.
Hey, Mark. How you doing? Thank you so much for your super chat earlier.
No problem, man. Just same old. I'm glad Matt's back whatever he was doing earlier, because I always have to get on Matt's ass because Matt knows all this stuff and don't want to say anything. So I just have 2 things. I don't have a rant tonight, but a couple of questions. The first one is directed to Matt and yourself, Tim, being the insiders. What was going on with the offensive line last year? We had 3 transfers in. Why was there so many changes in the lineup, and also changes in just positions? What was going on with that? If you guys have some insight on that, none of the kids, Justin Dietich played center the whole year, but why was there so many different lineup changes and also position changes? You had a Jared Kingston who was inevitably drafted. Why was he playing out of his position? And of course, the kid from Florida, he did play left tackle, but what was going on that? I guess that's kind of, since Matt doesn't want to ever say anything except subliminally, that's why I got to attack Matt's ass.
Hey,
hopefully you could give me a little insight on that.
So I hope I didn't give you the impression I'm some kind of insider. I got inside knowledge on the coaching staff and why they did what they did, because I don't. Okay, but what I can do is I can try to guess for you why I think. So early on, I thought they were doing it just to get. We had our schedule laid out really clear last year. That was just going to get more. I wish we had last year's schedule this year. Why? You bring in a new quarterback. You bring in a new defense. You bring in a lot of guys on defense together, and you can slowly work it. So what I thought they were doing, I thought they were just giving guys, just some to get them in there for experience. I mean, when you saw Alani Noah in there as a true freshman, you must have been going like, "Huh, okay, that's interesting." But losing Nealon and Voorhees, and Haskins, and not having the depth, and then trying to bring in Tarquin and White and Kingston, and then you had that shuffle between Kingston and Tarquin, like middle of the season, and really just never kind of getting it together. I think they were just trying to put together a cohesive unit, and it just never really got together until the bowl game. I mean, I was hoping in the beginning. Remember, I was talking to Mark. If Mark Rogers did the chat, I think I was saying that. I was just kind of like, I was like, oh, I was sure of it. I'm like, oh yeah, they're just, they're just putting guys in there trying to get them, the young guys some experience. No, I think they were saying, holy crap, we got to throw something together. And they kept kind of trying things, and things just didn't seem to work. And the whole experiment of putting Kingston inside when they brought him down, right? He was a tackle at Washington State, correct? I think he was. And so they moved him inside just to stop the bleeding on that right side, which was just so brutal. So many free runners. I mean, just watch the tape of that Notre Dame game. My God, I don't know how Caleb survived that game. And in the end, I just think that why there was so much movement is because they were just trying to find something that would work. And obviously, the problem began and ended with that offensive line. They just never sorted out, and that's why they had the offensive season. That's why they only scored, 20 points against Notre Dame. That's why they only scored 20 points against UCLA. It was because of that reason. And granted, it was two really good defenses, but a big part of that was they just could not figure out the line.
And
Matt, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
one of the things Tim mentioned was the Ethan White. Remember, they brought in Ethan White from Florida as a transfer offensive line. Yeah, they brought him in, and then, due to medical reasons, he retired. And so,
did he ever arrive though? I don't think
that was one of your portal gets, and it becomes a zero, becomes a blank. So, when that happens, the numbers game is just going to shift against you, and then the Gino Quinones
went down.
That it was just a domino effect, and it went in the negative direction for USC.
Mm-hmm. That's the best I can guess. Yeah, I mean, Matt, that's
right. And I kind of, I definitely understand that. But the big kid that's playing tackle from Wyoming, guard. He was the number one transfer portal player, and I understand, it takes some time and stuff like that, but I just don't understand why all the mixing and stuff. And I know Matt doesn't want to say any damn thing. That's why I was just stay on his ass. Was there insight or something going on that, we might not have known or understood, but why there wasn't no cohesion? It seems like after a while, they would have came together and they would have played the positions that they were brought in to play.
Let's keep in mind that Justin Dedich not working out well at center, that's another really, really big piece of the puzzle. That he had his groove on the 2022 line, but the move to center that didn't work out either, and USC needed that to work out.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I definitely understand that. And one last question, and you guys might not be able to answer that because it was only one practice. But being you guys are the insiders, have you guys noticed or heard any chatter on if the practices have changed from last year, being a little bit more aggressive? That was the old Clay Helton thing. It's like, we got the ice cream truck outside and practices are soft. And it kind of leaked into Lincoln Riley's as well. And the whole thing, the whole year was like, can we intensify the practices, make it more defensive minded and make it more aggressive? Have you guys heard any insight or locker room noise in regards to the intensity of the practices and if it's more aggressive?
So it was the first practice. We got to watch the first half hour. They were in helmets and shells. They weren't in full pads. It wasn't that kind of a practice. And I think where a lot of the old school people don't realize is it's not like first is they don't have 2 days anymore. There's a lot of, you can't hit 5 days a week. There's rules about practice now. So yes, there were concerns, recently. Why? Because there's depth concerns, and when there's depth concerns, you don't do as much hitting and popping. But I anticipate this being a very physical. I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming with Matt Entz and with Danton Lynn. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I guess let's see. We get to see a practice tomorrow. Now I know, isn't there? Now help me out, Matt. I mean, there's rules about all this stuff. You have a certain amount of days where you have to condition before you go full pads and stuff. I mean, right? I mean, I'm trying to remember. how everything
Don't
works.
know
I
what
know there's a
those-
system to it.
Don't know what those precise rules are, but I would just say that Tim's going to be attending the full practice tomorrow, so like he's going to be able to gather a lot of information from that. So you want to stay tuned to Trojans Wire and then to our Monday show with Mark Rogers at 10 Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, or 7 p.m. Pacific.
I sure will, and hopefully, and, you know, I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything that, you know, practices would be a little bit more open, so that you guys could be able to, you know, give some of that information back. I'm not saying that we need to know formations, plays, or whatever, but you know, back in Pete Carroll's days, it was 300 people out there watching practice, and they were going at a full tilt. And I'm not even Lane Kiffin. I'm not asking for that, but I'm just, you know, just trying to get some type of wherewithal of the intensity of practice, the status of how things are working, you know, just moving towards LSU. So I appreciate you guys' time. Like I said, I didn't have a rant tonight, you know, not, you know, pissed off. Besides that damn Matt, I'm going to stay on Matt's ass because Matt knows more than he's wanting to come out with. And Tim, I appreciate you guys, what you guys are doing. Thank you guys. Fight on and keep it going.
Really quick, Mark. So I just looked it up because I mean, there is a 7-day acclimation period, and what that has to do with is you there are limitations on what you can do. Again, they got rid of 2-a-day practices. I'm trying to scan through it really quickly for you, but gone are the days of the junction boys or what, you know, where you could beat the shit out of your players and,
right.
and run them into the grounds. Like, you know,
Right.
there are too many people, you know, getting injured, lawsuits and death, really. So they kind of said, okay, look, we're going to pull back on this stuff. And yes, again, we all know that they could have a lot of hitting. It started with that you go all the way back to the Kiffin years where we had reduced rosters. Well, you can't do a hell of a lot of hitting and tackling when you're playing with a 50-man roster. So that was that. Then with Clay Helton, when there was a lack of concern of talent at certain positions because you weren't recruiting, then obviously you can't go full go and have guys getting hurt. You're worried about guys getting hurt. And I don't think that's going to be the situation for this staff. So I don't think we need to worry about that at all.
Great points. Yeah.
And none of that's
and
inside
I agree
information.
totally.
That's
You
just
know,
me guessing. That's not inside information. That's just me making guesses. God. Insider. Okay.
Yeah, and I totally understand. I like I said, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to stay on Matt's ass because Matt knows a little bit more than he wants to come off with. So I got to stay on his butt to bring out the information. But hey, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you guys. And I'm just ready for the season to get going. I'm tired of all the negativity. I think we got a lot of positives going forward, and I'm ready to fight on and ready for LSU.
Absolutely, Mark. Fight on. Yeah, thank you for calling in. Thank you. I mean, we can count on you every week. Appreciate you being here, and the season's here in like the matter of weeks now. So we're gonna see it. We're gonna see what this team can do. And again, that can't come soon enough because it's been a long off season.
All right, so Tim needs to hit a pillow so that
Thanks a lot.
Tim needs to hit a pillow so that he can be ready to cover practice tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's not quite as early tomorrow as it was today. So that's one reprieve. But we appreciate everyone being here. Still 66 of you guys here. Great conversations. Thank you to Gerardo, Christian, Mark just now, then going back to earlier, Dan in LA, Kyle from Utah, Adam as always. Adam, thank you so much for the Adam Lamparello hour as always. Will and D called in. Thank you, Will. Gary from Dana Point and Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports, right? Did I butcher that, Jeffrey? I hope you're in the chat still. You're probably not. But you go ahead and check him out. Just like Jackson, those two young guys, and Will. Talk about three guys that are like half my age and know about 8 times more about college football than I do. You really got to go check out their stuff. Those three guys are awesome. Yeah, Matt. So I'm going to practice tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait. I can't wait to see like an actual practice with this coaching staff. This could be interesting to check out. You guys, make sure you check it out. Trojans Wire. There's a bunch of stories that we're putting up. Still trying to gather and finish up the stories from Media Day 2 days ago. I mean, there's just so much information. Make sure you guys are checking us out there. Make sure you check us out on Monday for the Monday show. I'm so tired I can't even get the screen off. make sure you come check us out for the Trojan Conquest Live Monday with Mark Rogers at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern time. I'm sure we're going to go into much more in that show, again, about practice and about the upcoming season. Anything you want to add, Matt? Let me get rid of this. Sorry. Super sticker from Danny Kennedy. Thank you so much. $5 super sticker. Appreciate you. Did you check the rest of them, Matt? Make sure we don't forget anybody else.
Yep.
Also appreciate Danny. Been a member for 8 months. Excited to see USC play teams from past years. Yeah, and I will say this. This is what I'm really excited about. Those of you guys who remember when Nebraska came to the Coliseum, just a really great fan base. If you guys didn't get to see them the first time they came back years ago, make sure you get out there and enjoy the tailgating with the Husker fans. Again, they're simply awesome. Penn State fans also, it was wonderful. Twice Rose Bowls, and got to tailgate with Penn State fans. Really knowledgeable, really wonderful fan base. So yeah, I can't wait to start knocking these teams. And again, I've never been to the Big House, but I'm going to Michigan Stadium for that game. Was it the 28th, the 21st, 21st? Was it
21st?
21st. I can't. That's going to be something special to check out. My brain is completely fried. I've been up since like 4:30 this morning.
Yeah.
So Matt, we are going to call it a day. Thank you guys all for calling. Thank you for all the super chats. There were 1 million of you guys. Again, Adam, thank you so much for sponsoring a whole hour. Gary, Roy Banuelos, thank you. Slap Happy, Fight On for the couple. Jeff Rodriguez, thank you. Mark Williams and Danny Kennedy for being a member, as well as the super chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll catch all you guys, next Monday at 7 p.m. Bye, everybody. Talk to you soon.